Yo, what's up guys, it's Talon. Today we're going to be talking about Vex, which is kind of an underrated assassin counterpick in my opinion, especially to dashing champions. I don't think Vex in the meta is crazy strong, but I do think Vex has her place in the meta, and so I wanted to just give you guys a bit of a unique champion pick, talk about it. Next season I plan on trying to solo queue only to Sovereign, playing mid lane, and I'm thinking about having Vex as like one of my counterpick champions. I'm not 100% sure yet if I'll do Vex or if I'll do something like Lissandra instead, or maybe even just throw Kassadin instead of Vex. I'm still deciding on that part of my champion pool. The other parts of my champion pool, we're going to make a video on as a whole, kind of talking about that whole thing where you guys can kind of follow along, try to copy my champion pool, the way I play, everything like that. But today I just wanted to talk a little bit about Vex, and specifically with Vex I wanted to talk about understanding you don't always have to be the main character of every game, sort of understanding how to take a back seat and just find value in a game that doesn't go perfectly right away, where you just can find value in other ways rather than just being the carry who's 24-0. So in this game, my jungler and my top laner are actually Sovereign, so they're actually pretty good players. And obviously, it's pretty rare that that happens, but certainly for those who are Master, Diamond, whatever rank you guys are, you'll definitely have players on your team at times who are better than you or higher ranked than you or same rank as you, and they might carry you in some situations. Now, don't get me wrong, I know it's rare that your teammates are going to carry, but that still does happen, and so it's important to know what to do when you end up in a situation like that where your teammates are playing well. So early on, first just talking again about Vex, right, as that is part of the video. The reason that Vex is so good at countering dashing champions specifically, especially Yasuo, is because her passive auto attack thing that goes over their head every time they dash, you get it every time they dash, right? And then it gives you extra damage. It can go even through the wind wall, and it gives you bonus or 25% of your fear comes back up when you do it. So definitely a pretty good counter pick. I mean, you can even see here when he flashes onto me, despite the jungle ganking me and taking a lot of my health, we're still able to at least trade 1-for-1, and generally you can get really positive trades. Now frankly, I have not played Vex in a very long time. I've played like 500 games of Vex, but all of those were like over a year ago, so still get a bit rusty with the champion, and definitely didn't play the matchup as well as I could have here. But also, Blitzcrank in our lane one time, Gragas ganking, and we're still in an okay spot. But this is kind of why I want to talk about, what to do when a game doesn't go perfectly right away. So early on in the game, doesn't go ideal. The wave's kind of in a bad spot, but I'm still going to be able to find value later on. So at this point, I realize I'm not going to really get a lot of kills in lane. I'm trying to just get this wave pushed in so that I can then look for a roam, look to help out my team. And so as soon as my jungle shows up, I'm going to, of course, bait for them, try to set them up nicely. As soon as they stun, we land a free ultimate, and we end up getting the Yasuo. And so now that we have the Yasuo killed, we can just easily push out the wave and then look for a recall, and then potentially come back to lane and roam. So we're going to recall, we're going to go back to lane, try to push the lane out, and then see if we can find a roam angle when we can. So again, we push the next lane, the next wave, because we want to make sure we push our wave before we rotate, but then we look for the rotation afterwards. So now Yasuo is going to have to respond to mid wave, and I have a timer to roam for it. And it's especially important to find these timers when you're not doing super well, because if your lane isn't going amazingly, you don't want to spend 24 hours in your lane. You'd rather get out of your lane as much as possible and just go back to the lane for the wave. And so even here, I'm okay with going all the way on this, despite my wave now reaching the mid lane, because it only just now reached it, and we still have this opportunity to get a lot of value out of our roam. Even if Yasuo does get a bit of a lead from that, I'm going to be helping out my team, and I noticed early on that the game's not going super well. And again, I still pushed out that wave so that Yasuo doesn't get a huge lead from it. Yes, he'll get some amount of lead from it, but he was already in the lead anyways, and we're spreading that advantage to people who are doing well. Whereas again, like I said, Vex is not really a solo carry champion anyways, and again, with the game going not as good early game, it kind of makes sense to play around people who are doing pretty well, which is exactly what we do. And so now we're just going to look to try to push out the wave again as soon as it reaches, so that we can find another roam angle to help out our team once again, if they do end up deciding to contest. If they don't contest, we just trade objectives, and it's pretty straightforward process there. And so that's what ends up happening. So then we just go back on the mid wave again, just focus kind of on that mid prio, while being aware of Gragas, because obviously he is potentially rotating. But again, just really kind of focusing on that, trying to get the trade off onto the Yasuo in general. And then again, once we can get the wave pushed, generally going to lose prio a bit to Yasuo, because even when you are counterpicking with like a Vex into Yasuo, it's still going to be a little hard in this in these certain times, because if Vex does get on top, or if Yasuo does get on top of Vex, still pretty hard anyways. So yeah, I believe we end up dying here. I don't remember for sure. I think we end up trading. Yeah, we end up trading. So again, I got a little cocky, didn't need to stay so far up, but still works out. Again, you can see the counter pick. It's like I can still get a lot of these trades and my fears and everything on him, despite him getting on top of me. And then I have the ability to roam a lot more effectively than him as well. So, and I mean, my scaling is still really good as well, burst damage wise and everything like that. But again, you see the game still not going perfectly. And so with that, I'm going to start just covering lanes, making sure that I make myself useful in some way, which in this case is me covering the top lane as my Renekton rotated, rather than, you know, going through mid lane and trying to just like carry through having mid prio and then rotating and fighting a bunch. Instead, I'm just going to end up clearing the wave in top side, going for this Tryndamere, and then Tryndamere is going to one-shot me under tower because he's a fun champion. But we got the wave plus the kill on him, so we're perfectly happy with that rotation. But again, just understanding now at this point in the game, I just need to cover whatever waves are available to cover, even if that's not always me covering the most important wave. In this case, I go back towards mid lane first because then the Renekton again can get that additional wave on top side after getting that mid wave that he got, and then he's going to be there first. He's a lot stronger on the top side, which is where a turret's at, and then I'm able to get that wave pushing and then immediately look for a rotation, again trying to just make myself useful for my Renekton. And then for some reason I ult here. I don't know why, but I do. Don't know why. Don't ask me why, because I couldn't tell you. But then here we're going to be just hovering for this next turret as well, making sure we help our teammate get that, letting our Riven cover the mid wave. And so at this point, again, we're really just rotating with whoever is strong after we push out our waves, trying to play around them, trying to get as much, you know, movement on the map as possible. But notice how even when I am playing a more roaming focused champion, I'm not just ignoring the waves. I'm still going for these waves, getting them pushing. And then after I push them is when I look for the fights. Like even when I am behind, that's still what I'm going to be doing. But then here you can see I'm going to split push again on this side of the map, just because once again, I'm not the main character of the game, so I can just cover these additional waves that are needed. I don't need to be going on waves, you know, that have fights with them. Basically, I'm just kind of looking for whatever wave clear I can, making sure I'm at least useful by covering something, rather than trying to go for all the fights and everything like that. Whereas when you're a lot further ahead, sometimes it makes sense to try to find angles to fight if you can. Here, I thought that I'd be able to solo kill Tryndamere if I was able to kite them under turret, but then Gragas showed up, so we end up dying. Unlucky, but not the end of the world. Main problem with Vex is kind of the fact that once you get all your damage off, you're really kind of weak, you know, after that, because you're pretty much just focused on one-shotting people. And so if you're not able to get that first reset or that first one-shot off, you can be really weak and really susceptible to pretty much anything afterwards, which is why, you know, I go in, Tryndamere ults, and then if someone shows up like the Gragas, we just end up getting killed and we don't really have a way out. So he's a very all-in, or she's a very all-in champion. You have to be like, you know, pretty patient with Vex, making sure you're landing your ultimates, everything like that. So it's a very like unforgiving champion if you do make a mistake or something like that, which is what ended up happening. But again, at this point in the game, we understand I just need to be there to provide CC in fights, to provide some type of, you know, like execution. It doesn't really matter if I'm, you know, surviving. If I'm trading 1-for-1, I'm pretty happy with that because I am not super strong. And so again, we just kind of follow up on our teammates' CC. They kind of let them dictate the pace of the game. I just rotate towards fights when I'm needed, and pretty straightforward, right? So obviously, again, if I play like this, the game doesn't go well and then my teammates end up sucking, I'm not going to solo carry the game. And that's why oftentimes you do need to play a very selfish play style and really focus on yourself. But some games like this, you're just going to want to cover the waves, you know, that you need to be wherever your team isn't, so that you're at least getting some type of, you know, lane covered. And then once you push out that lane, you can then rotate and help your team. Focusing really on helping kind of the carries, on following up on their engages, that type of thing. And that's going to be something that's really common, especially with a champion like Vex, which is a bit more supportive in some ways with more CC, not as much 1v9 carry potential. Obviously, if you do land a couple of Vex ultimates and you're really fed, you can 1v9 a game, but it's a bit different compared to champions like Orianna or Syndra. So it's important to understand how to play in these types of scenarios as well. And again, just covering whatever lanes my team's not on. And then now that I pushed out that bottom lane wave, I'm going to go to whatever wave once again we'll be pushing, which in this case is mid lane, and then say that I got those lanes pushed. I'm either going to go cover another lane or then I can rotate. But once again, because the enemy are on bottom lane, I'm looking for that bottom lane wave. Now, in this case, Gragas shows up in a bush and kills me. That wasn't very nice of him. But again, you can just see how I'm always trying to cover these extra waves, whereas I might try to be on the more important waves if I'm, again, the one who's more fed. You know, I might be on the mid wave right before an objective instead of pushing out the bottom lane wave, or I might, you know, be on the wave that's actually going to have a fight at it because I want to be in that fight, whereas I might cover, you know, a side lane wave like this if I don't matter as much. Now, again, team does well here. Team's doing really well, so shout out to them for carrying this game overall. But once again, just trying to be useful whatever way we can. So now we're just going to go cover the Tryndamere, maybe see if we can help our teammate out. I think I land the ultimate. Hopefully, I do land it. Shout out to landing Vex ultimates. I would never miss a Vex ultimate. Never happened in my life. I'm going to hope that I don't miss this one now because I don't actually remember if I... Okay, so maybe I jinxed it. It's possible that I jinxed it. I probably did. But it's alright because we can still set our teammates up to kill Gragas. So everything is fine. Just ignore that I missed that. Alright, so at this point, pretty straightforward. Now we just go Baron, end the game in a pretty straightforward manner. Oh, I got a kill, so I have to show you guys that I got a kill as I'm skipping forward here, because it's always important to show when I get kills. I always edit out all of my deaths, except for this video. I guess I forgot to, but I make sure to edit out all my deaths and make myself look better than I actually am, so that you guys think I'm good. That's like the real goal of my channel, is just to pretend like I'm good, but I actually suck. You know, I'm actually gold, so it's kind of unfortunate. I feel like someone's going to believe that. So I guess, you know, maybe they will. But either way, again, just looking for a side lane now, covering the side lane, because once again, I don't actually care about being a part of that fight because I'm not super, super strong. My teammates are a lot more ahead, so as long as I'm keeping these waves pushed, it means that if my team does make one mistake, we don't get punished so hard. Because, like, a lot of times what ends up happening is someone's teammates will be carrying them, they'll end up grouping mid lane with them, fighting on the same wave, and then the side lane waves are getting pushed, and now all of a sudden one person makes one mistake, and you get screwed over by that. Because then the enemy have the lanes pushing, they can get a bunch of turrets and they come back. Whereas here, I'm making sure I'm always getting these waves pushed out and then helping my team rather than the other way around. Even, you know, again, in a game where I'm not super strong. And so I'm still able to provide value, provide CC for my team, and at least do something. So that's kind of an important thing to understand when you're playing a supportive champion or when you're behind, that type of thing, right? So pretty straightforward overall, right? Just understanding when your team is ahead, making sure you just make these simple fundamental plays, make sure you don't miss your Vex ultimates, and if you do, edit them out of a YouTube video that you're making so that people don't see, such as that one. I was talking over that, so hopefully you just didn't notice, you weren't paying attention to me missing that ultimate. And then yeah, at this point, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Again, like we said, just doing whatever we can to help out the team, but at this point, I mean, they're pretty much just winning by default because we have the Baron lane minions coming in, everything like that, trying to land Vex skills, but can't really do it. But yeah, it is kind of nice, you know, this Vex champion as sort of a counter pick into champions like Yasuo, because I don't have a lot of good champions in my champion pool that are good into stuff like Yasuo. So that's why I was trying to add possibly Vex, maybe Lissandra. Like I said, still not 100% sure which champion I'm going to choose to do that, but Vex is an option, even though Vex isn't the strongest right now. Unfortunately, we ended up kind of inting here. But again, because we pushed out these lanes and we did a really good job using our Baron to actually get all of the inhibs rather than just A-rabbing, those deaths don't matter as much. Because the enemy, sure, they'll get a dragon out of it, but they're not going to get nearly as many turrets or anything as they otherwise would have. All they got is one tier 2 turret and a dragon. And we're still in a completely, you know, commanding position of the game. Whereas if we just, again, we A-ram, we try to just push all at once, wouldn't be very good. And a lot of times that's what ends up happening when people have, you know, people carrying them. Those people carrying might not actually be super smart. They might not really be doing the right thing. They just go in ARAM because they're strong, they want to fight, and then you follow them, and all of a sudden you guys die, and then, you know, game pretty much ends. But instead, because we push out those waves, we don't get punished as hard. We can still just, you know, pretty easily come back, get the next Baron, and then just go and end the game. Again, you didn't see me miss my flash. Glad that you guys didn't see any of these things, because I'm really good at editing and edited them all out. I can't talk. It's fine. I am my brain doesn't work sometimes, guys, but it's all right. Basically, just wanted to give you guys this, you know, little video to help you understand how to sometimes get carried, how to play a more supportive style, that type of thing. So if you guys enjoyed, if you want to like or whatever, I would appreciate that. And I'll see you guys in the next video.